Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for being here. I am Deborah Paredes. I am the current chair of the writing program. I'm also a poet and nonfiction writer. And I'm here just to welcome you. It's really a joy to see everyone here. We are eager to tell you a little bit about the program and to answer questions you might have, and to also share the wonderful work of some of our students. So I will just tell you how it will go this evening, and then we will proceed. We'll have each of the representatives from each of our various areas just talk very briefly a little bit about the different areas of the program, and we will field questions. And then there will be a reading. We also have someone who's not from the program, who's Julie, who's in charge of financial aid. And we will then hear some of the poetry and nonfiction and fiction from some of our students. So there'll be plenty. We'll break up into groups, I guess, before that. Sorry, I forgot about that. So we'll break up into concentration or genre specific groups so that you can have time to ask specific questions to each of the people you might be interested in speaking with. Again, we have today, I'm going to just introduce everyone and then they will speak. Representing the fiction area is Ben Marcus, fabulous novelist. And then the fabulous nonfiction writer, Chloe Cooper-Jones, is representing nonfiction as the director of that concentration. Dottie Lasky will be joining us shortly. She is representing our poetry area. Then we have the fabulous Susan Bernofsky, an acclaimed translator who will talk to us about our translation program. And then we have our amazing Director of Academic Administration, Frank Winslow, who will be able to answer all kinds of logistical questions about the program and is also an alum of our program. And then Julie Dobra will be answering questions around larger questions around financial aid and other kinds of things. So Ben, would you like to start us off, please?
Sure. Thanks, Deb. Thank you all for coming out tonight. I hope that we can address some of your questions. I can tell you a little bit about what we're trying to do in the fiction program. It's a daunting task, partly because we have a large faculty with a lot of really different approaches and different interests. So characterizing it as one thing is pretty difficult. I think what we might have in common is we really want to pay a lot of attention to the individual writer and the individual writer's instincts for how they would like to write fiction. So we're not looking to teach some kind of style, single style, but rather to detect the style that you personally dream of and to give you the tools and the context and the critical surroundings to develop that style here. We, I think, pride ourselves on not really favoring a single aesthetic. So we have writers all across the board from various traditions, backgrounds, and approaches. And our idea is that there's an infinite range of narrative art, and that it's our job when we get together to take it seriously, to read it carefully, to apply critical rigor to it, and most importantly, to give each writer the tools to keep developing that work so that they can grow as artists and writers. The curriculum is pretty simple. Your core class is called a workshop. That's where your own writing will be discussed. Probably that's a familiar sort of class that you've had with your peers. Your writing will be discussed with your peers. Then we have every semester a pretty wide range of seminars. And the seminars aren't the sort you'd find in an English department where you're reading for symbolism or meaning or this historical insight, but rather as a technician, we're going to read and read and read and read and read to try to understand how writing gets made, how sentences are built, and what their impact is. You can take a look at any given course catalog from any given semester, and you'll see, I don't know, how many seminars do we have? 25 more, where faculty will put together some readings that will allow them, for instance, to focus on some element of craft. Maybe it's point of view, maybe it's the way time is handled in fiction. I've just finished a course called The Future of the Short Story, which is an attempt to look at the trajectory of the short story as an art form over time, and then to project where it's going, which just allows us to wonder, in general where any art form is going and what it might be doing. So you'll take a workshop, you'll take a handful of seminars. You'll be surrounded by a ton of really passionate, ambitious writers. I feel the need to say that this is a very, very kind, warm, friendly program that still tries to be rigorous, that we believe that taking each other's artistic ambitions seriously is the best form of respect, but it's not sort of elbowy and competitive and petty and mean. We don't allow pettiness in the program. So I think it's a place where people do come and make long-lasting friendships and relationships. But also I think people find that their seriousness and ambition is matched by the people around them. So I know there'll be lots of specific questions about the fiction program, and I'll be around to answer them. But I think I'll pass this on to Chloe at this point.
Hi, everybody. It's so nice to be here with you all. I'll be brief because I'm excited to hear what your specific questions are. I'm the concentration director of nonfiction. And one thing that I'm really incredibly proud of in nonfiction, and it's very similar to what Ben was just saying about fiction, is that we really have a faculty that work across many, many, many genres. So we also really pride ourselves on being able to address an extremely wide range of projects from our students. We have somebody like Leslie Jameson, who writes, her recent book is really personal memoir, but is also on writing for the New Yorker, writing for the New York Times Magazine, writing for lots of other places. Somebody like Margot Jefferson, who teaches an incredible class on art criticism, and somebody like Shakira Diaz, who's teaching a class, I believe, this term about it's hard to even understand speculative nonfiction futures, which is so cool. So we have a really wide range of experimental and like really form-driven or hybrid-driven approaches to nonfiction, all the way to really classic magazine writing and really incredibly rich craft courses. So Ben, just to give an example of that, Ben mentioned that the way that our sort of course load breaks up is you have a workshop every single semester, you have many seminars. This is true across all of our disciplines. You have many seminars to choose from that are sort of smaller classrooms where you do a lot of reading, a lot of discussion. We have a lecture, which is usually a bigger class around one topic. I'm teaching the lecture this term. It's sort of a foundational class on structures. And we also have these master classes, and the master classes are shorter classes. They're 6 weeks. They're usually a lighter workload, and they allow us to bring in a lot of different writers who maybe wouldn't normally be able to join us for a full year or full semester, or to take on teaching full time, but really have so many incredible things to offer our students. So just to give you an example of the way that master classes in nonfiction can really supplement such a wide range of interests, in the spring term, we have my editor at the New York Times Magazine, Sasha Weiss, who teaches really foundational approaches to long form magazine writing. We also have the novelist, Catherine Lacey, who wrote a nonfiction book that's coming out. So she's really talking about this sort of blurred lines between fiction and nonfiction. Her book is half fiction and then the nonfiction version of what inspired. She's amazing. She's working across so many different genres, as well as the writer Danielle Saldana Paris, who is writing about how to take one's journals and turn them into other sorts of essays. So we just really try to look at all the different ways that nonfiction can be thought about and test the boundaries of that, while also trying to give a lot of grounding in what it just means to be a working nonfiction writer, what that looks like, how to pitch, how to write for magazines, how to work with editors, and trying to sort of cover everything in between. So I think I'll pass it to Dottie.
Well, yes, I have, the poetry spin on all of the wonderful things that Ben and Chloe already said about our program. In poetry, it's a really exciting time to be in the program. We have such a wide range of faculty that are writing, across different kinds of styles of poetry. So, if you love prosody, we have somebody for you. If you love experimental poetry, we have some people for you. All the things, just lyrical poetry, we've got it covered. And so our yeah, we have some wonderful full-time faculty, including our amazing chair, Deborah Paredes, and we have Timothy Donnelly, Shane McCrae, and Lynn Shu are our core poets in the program. And then we just have a lot of fantastic visiting poets that come through the program that can, have an arm in different places that poetry can be involved in, whether it's publishing or translation or organizing community events. There's a lot of different poets. So some of them that are here this year are Vijay Shashadri is going to be here in the spring, and he's been here a lot. Farnoosh Fati is here again. Alan Gilbert is somebody who's teaching a lot, and we love Alan. And Alice Quinn, just to give a little bit of example of poets in the program. And so our faculty and alumni are so esteemed, as all of the writers teaching in the MFA program, and have won Pulitzer Prizes and Kingsley Tufts Awards and the Guggenheim and all the good things, but also have been involved in all of the ways that poetry can be in different communities. So that's a really excellent part. We have a wonderful ethos in the poetry program that we really try to approach you at the style that you're at. So there isn't one overarching style that we're trying to mold you into, as that can happen in some MFA and poetry programs. We're trying to, meet you at that place that you want to be and help you achieve, the poems that you want to. And so we have seminars, master classes, lectures, and workshops. We have a landing seminar. So when you start in the program as a first-year poet, whoever is the concentration director teaches that seminar and kind of just gives you a wide overview, almost like a survey of what they think poetry, is now and has been. And it's a really wonderful way to bond with the cohort. We've had so many great events. The Max Ritvo Reading Series is a core part of the poetry program, and the Alumni Poet Series, and we have some new series percolating this year, so lots of ways to go to events. So looking forward to talking to you all later tonight and hearing your questions. And I will pass the baton to Susan.
Where's my baton? Hi, everybody. I'm Susan Bronowski. I'm the director of LTAC, which is an acronym meaning Literary Translation at Columbia. You may or may not know about our program that we offer translation classes as a sort of add-on. So nobody comes to our program specifically to study translation, but we encourage all our students to try translating at some point in their studies, because you learn so much about writing from trying this. So whereas in your regular workshops, you're trying to figure out, what is my voice? What is my style? But in a translation workshop, you might have to write somebody else's style and figure out what constitutes that style, what constitutes that voice. And so we strongly encourage it for everybody. You do not have to be fluent in a language other than English to try literary translation. To be a professional literary translator, you have to be pretty good in at least 2 languages, but that's not what we're doing here. We're really looking at it as a way to learn more about writing, and it's not about how great my foreign language skills are. If you can decipher a text with a dictionary and maybe some additional aid, you've got what you need. We offer workshops, which are running every semester. We offer seminars like the other concentration, or like the concentrations, we're not a concentration, in which the readings are primarily works in translation, and the instructors, who are literary translators themselves, will talk to you about how the books you're reading were translated and make observations about the translation, so you'll learn about translation that way. We have some of the greatest translators into English teaching in this program because we're in New York and a lot of them live there. You know, this semester, Natasha Wimmer, the great translator of Bolaño, has been teaching. Rosanna Warren, Matvey Yankelevich, Yasmin Seal, who's working on a new 1,000 Nights and a Night. Jeremy Tiang, who is a prize-winning playwright as well as fiction writer and translator, Alison Waters. There are a lot of options, and all of our classes are polyglot, so people translating from different languages are together. And you can also work cross-genre in all of our classes. So if you're a nonfiction writer who also wants to work on poetry, you can come translate poetry with us. We also offer a program called Word for Word. We have partner institutions around the world with creative writing programs, and we will hook you up with a partner who is an MFA candidate in a different country, in a different language, and under sort of faculty guidance, you can translate something by your partner and they will translate something by you. A very profound experience to be translated and to see your work that way. So, and all of this, if you've never translated before, you're fine. All of our classes are meant for novices as well as experienced translators. So happy to answer questions if you have them.
Let's see. Hello, I'm Frank Winslow. I'm a fiction writer and a fiction alum of the program. I currently serve as Director of Academic Administration. I am going to echo all of the great things our concentration directors and chair have said about our amazing faculty and the kinds of courses we offer. I will also add a little bit about our social life and what you might expect from a week of taking those classes here at Columbia. We have several student groups, one for people interested in teaching called Columbia Artist Teachers. Information about all of these student groups is available online. So if you Google search these terms, you'll find descriptions and students who are involved and some of the organizational structure. But Columbia Artist Teachers focused on teaching, focused on community work, has a division that focuses on incarcerated writers and reading the work of incarcerated individuals and putting together a journal of their work. We have community classes that are open to undergraduate students who study with graduate course-taking students in the program as part of CAT. We also publish Columbia Journal, which is the only completely student-run journal nationally distributed in the United States at this time. There are faculty advisors who advise students who run these organizations, by the way. We also have a student group called R-Word, which is focused on incorporating many members from the community and creating safe spaces for all of the voices on campus. In addition to these student groups, we have Wednesday night activities. Ben Marcus is the advisor for the creative writing lectures and brings amazing writers every Wednesday night, 7 o'clock. Throughout the semester, 3 of them in each semester. We offer nonfiction dialogues, which is a reading series that brings preeminent nonfiction writers to campus on Wednesday nights. We have an amazing, as Dottie mentioned, group of poetry series. Dottie completely skipped her amazing Wolf reading series that started this fall and will continue in the spring, who we're bringing additional alums of the program to read poetry for our poetry alumni series, which just convened last night. We offer approximately 70 events in an academic year, so approximately 35 per semester. Not always that many, sometimes more. And in addition to these, we offer student-led readings that students, second-year students organize for the campus. So it's organized by students, it's all student contributed, all student-read. LTAC has a student reading series as well, so those who are translating have a chance to share their work and the work that they're translating with their peers. It's a very active deeply engaged social experience that the program administers, facilitates, puts together, and incorporates students into thinking about running, getting people excited about. And then a week on campus, our workshops, our seminars, our lectures, our master classes. We primarily schedule Monday through Friday. Monday through Thursday are the heavy days. We start at about 10 a.m. We go up usually till about 6. There are some classes that meet from 6 to 8, but that's a smaller proportion. We also have classes on Fridays, far fewer classes on Fridays, start at 10, end closer like 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock. So Friday nights are often open. You will have 15 credits that you'll be asked to complete in a semester, each one of the semesters that one studies to get to a minimum of 60. What that looks like is 1 workshop in your primary concentration, 2 seminars and a lecture, 3 seminars, or as Chloe mentioned earlier, taking 2 master classes is the equivalent in points of taking 1 seminar or a lecture. So it is absolutely possible to schedule your week of study on a day or 2 in the week at Columbia University. If you do that, what we've heard from students is that it's very hard to continue as part of the social experience of being a part of the campus. So those are the kind of trade-offs there. Oh, and in addition to your primary concentration workshop, a thing that we get asked often, can I take more than 1 workshop? We offer workshops in translation, so you can take a translation workshop alongside your primary concentration workshop. We have a workshop called Special Projects Workshop, which is intended to be a cross-genre, project-based workshop. So if you are working on your primary concentration, your book of poetry, your collection of essays, your novel, and you have an idea for an art project and it doesn't really fit to share that work with your primary concentration, you can apply to our special projects workshop with a really brief proposal, a brief description of what your idea is, even if it's not there on the page yet. And our faculty member who leads that workshop in the semester reviews that and accepts students out of an application-based pool. The last thing I'll say, logistically, is in addition to all of these great classes, we have a wide range of undergraduate courses that we offer that are available to students to try and get into. It's very competitive for graduates to get into undergraduates. We have a thriving undergraduate major. However, there are workshops, there are seminars, there are several classes that are non-concentration specific once they're seated for their intended targeted group of students who need to progress through their major. I'm happy to chat with anyone about any of these kinds of logistical details throughout the night afterward or take questions when we do. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you, Frank. Hi, everyone. I'm Julie Dobrow. I'm the Dean of Admissions and Financial Aid. I am also an alum of the theater program, so I've been around the School of the Arts for a long time. As you can see, it is a very vibrant community, so some of us stick around for a long time, but it's nice to see you here. And I also want to say hello to, we have like over 100 people on Zoom, so hi. Some people from Pakistan and someone from Turkey, and so thank you for being here, especially in the middle of the night. Just a couple important pieces of information I wanted to share with you. The first is I wanted to introduce, they're not actually in the room, but I wanted to give you the names of the admissions and financial aid team. We're a small group, but we're the people that if you have any questions, need any support over the next month or so as you're completing your application and any questions afterwards, we're here to assist. So it's me. Kenny Wong, who is actually running our Zoom at the moment, so you can't see him. And then Niquette and Tori, who were the 2 people that checked you in when you first came downstairs. So we are, as I said, a small office. So we try to get back to people as soon as we can, but do not ever hesitate to reach out if you have any questions, particularly if we can't answer them tonight. So just a couple of important dates. The application is due January 7th, so you have a month and a day. We ask you to really respect that deadline. Obviously, if there's some kind of family emergency or something, please let us know. But other than that, they are due on January 7th at 11:59 p.m. That's Eastern Standard Time, New York time. There's also a separate application if you want to be considered for financial aid. We encourage anyone who may be interested in receiving scholarship support to submit these applications. The process is need blind, so the faculty committee who will be reviewing your applications do not know your level of need, do not know whether or not you've applied for aid. So please don't think that that will in any way hurt your chances of being admitted. So there's two applications. If you're a domestic student or a permanent resident, you need to submit the FAFSA, which you're probably familiar with as an undergraduate student. That's for federal aid and work study. And then the School of the Arts has our own financial aid application. You can find that on the application portal. So you basically just start a new application. It's called something like 2025 School of the Arts Financial Aid Application, something generic like that. Anyway, those are both due on February 4th of 2025. So you can see it's a full month after your application is due. So there's no coordination between those. The financial aid office is the only office that will look at your need information. Let's see what else. All students are eligible for scholarships. So that includes both domestic students and international students. We also have job opportunities on campus. There's federal work study that is just for domestic students. However, we have what we call service positions, which are jobs within the School of the Arts. The students that are working here tonight are School of the Arts students. There's faculty assistant jobs. There's working in the writing program office, working on our marketing team, et cetera. And those jobs are open to everyone. They pay usually between $22.50 and $25 an hour. And the good thing about those is that you can work around your schedule, your class schedule. Yes, let me think what else. Oh, we have a couple of Q&A sessions that are going to be concentration specific in the next 2 weeks. So if you have any questions as you're going through the application process, we encourage you to log on to these, and we'll send you information about them and the links, but just so you have them in the back of your minds. Fiction and nonfiction will both be on December 17th. Fiction will be at 6 p.m. and nonfiction will be at 8 p.m. It's a busy night. And poetry will be on the 19th at 7 p.m. And just,
8 p.m.
at 8 p.m. Okay, that's good to know. Thank you, Dottie. And then just in case we're not keeping you busy enough that week, we also have a general financial aid information session that's going to be on the 18th at 7 p.m. So again, you don't have to write this down. We'll send you information. We have all of your information since you attended tonight. But those are ways in which any further questions you have will be accessible. Both the faculty, current students, and then through the financial aid session will be members of our team. So thank you so much.
Great. So we can take do we want to take the general questions here or do we want to break out into individual?
So I think we should take general questions. If you have any questions that are specific to a concentration, like you want to know about, what type of poetry to submit for your application, something like that. If you could hold those off until we break out into concentrations, this would be a great opportunity for any program specific questions that you may have. And I also have a whole lot of them that have come on via Zoom. So we can take some in person and then I can also feed you some from Zooms.
And you can just step up to the mic.
Yeah, I can start with some here
Yeah.
until we have anyone in person. So the first question is, I'd love to hear about any students who did the program while working full time, if that's possible.
Yes. Yes, there are currently students who are enrolled who are working full time. If you're working full time and your schedule is from Monday through Friday, you often have to collaborate with your employer to figure out how to continue working full time. But it's absolutely doable. The centerpiece of our curriculum is the workshop. You will have one workshop in your primary concentration each semester. If you are working any job, full-time, part-time, organizing your schedule around your primary concentration workshop, that's usually the way to go about that. And then have a follow-up conversation with your employer. And again, most of the social activity that happens within the writing program happens on Wednesday evenings in the fall and the spring. That's not the only time things happen. There are Friday night events. We also have a really great organization at the School of the Arts called the Interdisciplinary Arts Council. And it's a school-wide, kind of like a student senate. So there are representatives from all of the programs that participate in this organization, and they host a Halloween dance, and they host a party for the holidays, and they host a a welcome mixer for everyone at School of the Arts. And their social calendar is not specific to our program. So that stuff happens all over the calendar. So Wednesday nights in writing primarily, and then some other nights like LTAC stuff happens to be on a Thursday night often, because Wednesday night is usually so fully booked. And then other things that happen school-wide, but it's totally possible to do, and that's what you'll have access to socially if you're committed to being on campus 1 or 2 days. One is a tough pull. You can make 1 day a week happen, but it's kind of complicated because of the requirements of the program. Not every lecture is scheduled on the same day as your workshop, for example.
Okay. Oh, can you come up to the microphone? Just so we can have our people on Zoom hear the question too.
Me turn microphone before. So along those lines, can you do a program part-time and extend maybe the semesters and not do 15 credits per semester, but do less credits?
So the program is not part-time, it's a full-time program. There's only very specific exceptions. One of them is full-time Columbia employees are allowed to come part-time. And then if you have some sort of a disability through the Office of Disability Services that requires you to do the program in a longer period of time, then we allow that. But other than that, it's a full-time program. You guys can line up if you want.
Frank, you said that you can take workshops from another, like the project-specific workshop outside of your concentration. What about seminars? Can you take those outside of your concentration?
So seminars are seated priority to concentration specific. So those offered in nonfiction go to nonfiction students first, but then any seminar that has seats left after all of the students who have asked for it in the primary concentration are seated. Those seats then are not released, but made more broadly available. And so, yes, absolutely. And one of the other things along those lines that I didn't mention earlier was our cross-genre specific courses. So we have several courses that are designed specifically for poets who want to study nonfiction writers who want to write poetry, fiction writers who want to do all of the above, and some really great classes. B.K. Fisher's The Kama Sutra about studying grammar as a writer comes to mind. Carrie Bertino's Writer is Teacher, for those who are interested in teaching, comes to mind. Jesse Schiedlower will be here in the spring offering a class on how to write the dictionary. He's a lexicographer and has a really great book called The F Word and knows a lot about language in particular and etymologies and reading the dictionary. And Alan Gilbert in the past has offered a class that was specifically for poets who wrote novels from the past and novelists who wrote poetry and those who did all these things. So if you were a student who was studying in one concentration and you were interested in specifically studying those from the past who have done something similar, it was offered in our cross-genre curriculum.
And a second quick question. For the personal statement, I think this is a Julie question, it's an admissions question. There are 3 points that you guys ask for, like what are you hoping to get out of it? What have you read lately? And what are you currently working on? How wide or narrow is that question? Are you really looking to make sure each point is addressed, or how important is that? Just
I mean, I would say that's more of a faculty question
Yeah,
because you
I
guys
can
are
answer
reviewing
that.
them.
Yeah, I mean, always answer the question, right? Pretty, I think, but really and truly, we want to get to know who you are. So, answer the question and answer it true to your interests and your aesthetics, right? And, be as specific as possible. But we don't have, there isn't like, oh, we want to make sure they've read X or that they're studying Y. We really truly are big and capacious and diverse enough in our aesthetics to not be invested in sort of one kind of an answer. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. And as someone who teaches seminars all the time, I can't emphasize enough that there's usually always room for folks across the genres. Yeah.
Hello, it's so nice getting a face to the website or several faces. So I have currently moved here from Sweden, so I'm speaking for myself and maybe Pakistan and Turkey as well. Because of course I wonder, being a not native speaking, English speaking person, do we get a chance or is it a definite no? I mean, I can't promise that it won't show a little bit in the writing sample. hopefully it won't show too much, but you know.
We have a very diverse student population, many, many students that come in that are not native English speakers. That being said, if you're not, then we do require either a TOEFL or Duolingo or IELTS, one of those applications that just shows us that your comprehension of English is going to be good enough for you to take advantage of the program. So,
But I'm thinking about the literary quality, like it might be there even if there's.
I mean, you guys can speak to that, but.
Yeah, I always have students in my workshops for whom English is not their first language. I think it makes the classes better and more interesting and makes us all aware of the challenges of putting words on the page. So I think I recognize that that's a struggle for the writer, and it's probably an individual decision to evaluate your own comfort level in that situation. And I think I've seen writers who write in their original language and then translate, or writers who are trying to write in English and really everything in between. And the discussions around that are valuable for everybody, for everyone to understand the various challenges people have just writing anything in any language. So I've only found that it benefits the classes.
Okay, that's comforting.
And I work with a lot of students who are first language speakers of something other than English, who come to translation workshops and are translating out of their first language into English, which is an interesting, experience to have. I've also seen students in the past come and do the program in English and then go back to writing in a different language afterwards. For example, Roberto Tadei, who's a wonderful Brazilian novelist who studied in our program and now actually runs a creative writing program in Sao Paulo and, writes in Portuguese.
So I guess I'll give a specific example to encapsulate the question, but so for nonfiction writing and that concentration, have students before taken, Frank mentioned undergraduate classes, but have students engaged with other graduate classes like the medical school or the different science schools? Is that a possibility for expanding a specific science focus nonfiction writing journey?
Yeah, I mean, we have students that are writing across, doing nonfiction projects and writing across disciplines. And we have students that have taken classes at the med school, at the J school, at our journalism school. That's very common. And throughout the School of the Arts, certainly. I will say that I really welcome interdisciplinary learning and projects. At the same time, we're going to keep you very busy in nonfiction because we have an incredible faculty that also work really cross-disciplinarily and just tremendous courses that are going to hopefully allow you a lot of freedom to do what you want within our program. But that being said, if you can work with other professors or work in other departments and it makes sense with credit load and things like that, I mean, we certainly, this is an incredible campus to take advantage of, and any resource that you can use here, you should.
One of the features of our program that distinguishes us from others is the course, the number of credits that are required for the MFA, and that basically encourages students to take classes beyond the program, certainly even beyond the School of the Arts. So that's something that's very much encouraged, and that I think nearly all of our students take advantage of.
And just to piggyback off of those comments, structurally, the program offers 6 credits to be taken outside of the writing program itself at the 3,000 level or higher. 3,000 level is the junior level of the undergraduate course sequence at Columbia University. 4,000 is a mixture of grad and undergrad. But those 6 credits usually means 2 3-point classes from across the university. There are some kinds of restrictions that are offered by individual departments for prerequisites. Most of the time that's listed online, but you can always get in touch with an admin and ask for anything you're interested in: theology, anthropology, architecture, journalism, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
Great. We have several questions about job opportunities once the program is finished, specifically for international students, but also for students in general, if there's any help or support that the program gives.
That's the Artist Resource Center. The Artist Resource Center at School of the Arts is specifically designed to help students focus on professional documents as artists and to connect with grants, fellowships, residency applications for postgraduate opportunities. Often there are some that get offered to current course taking students, but the Artist Resource Center, all the information is listed online.
And in addition to that, I think oh, go ahead, Dottie, you want to go?
No, you're probably going to say it.
No, well, I don't know, maybe I am.
Oh,
But,
yeah.
but as you know, as several of the folks up here have mentioned already, too, there's a number of, panels and organized programming that brings in, editors and agents. Chloe mentioned courses, master classes that are taught by people in the profession that allow for students to get in-depth connection with folks in various fields, publishing, et cetera. And then, of course, there's the writer as teacher courses that are offered for those who are interested in pursuing teaching beyond their time here at Columbia, whether they're teaching in higher education, whether we have a number of students who end up teaching at private schools, high schools, and things like that too. So those kinds of things also help in regards to professionalization. I don't know, did I steal your thunder, Dottie, or?
No,
Okay.
no. Yeah, just equal lightning. But, yeah, well, you probably said it, but we have, in the past and present have a Life After the MFA panel where we're bringing in, alumni to talk about life after the MFA. And so they sometimes can give, ideas for job opportunities. And so much care is taken, as, everyone is saying, to try to choose faculty who are not just, working, I don't want to say just at writing, but may have editorial positions or maybe doing other kinds of vocations, that are helpful for writers to think about after they graduate. So we are thinking about that very closely when we choose faculty.
And because your answers were so much better than mine, I would like to offer one more thing the program offers specifically. We do organize an annual agents mixer, and we invite every alumni who's graduated from Columbia University's writing program to attend this event, typically in February of the year. And we plan to keep doing it in perpetuity, so all of our graduates will continue to be invited to that event.
Is this a good moment for me to brag that one of our students who studied translation, Lynn King, who graduated 2 years ago, just won the National Book Award for translated literature for her translation of Taiwan Travelogue by Yang Shuang Ji, or Ji or Z. Very proud.
That's great. I'm skipping around a little bit for some of these questions that are more general. One of the faculty mentioned how the program is designed in a way that can bring out students' unique voice and style. How is that done, and can you provide an example? And what distinguishes Columbia's MFA fiction program from the other ones in the city?
Sounds like that was me. Really hate having to give examples. Well, bringing out a unique voice might just be about not imposing a voice and seeing what the writer's natural instincts are, taking them seriously. I always sort of like to try to figure out what the dream the writer is having of what their work might be. And I think we all know there might be the dream of our work and then the work, and there's a big distance between, and then that distance is what we try to address. So I don't know that we're out there trying to get a certain voice out of a writer. I think that that is the writer's job, and helping the writer realize they don't have to read somebody and copy them, but sort of read a lot of things and copy it all so well that no one can detect the connection. So I think it's really so much about not trying to impose a set of rules or a set of ideas, and exposing writers to so many examples from across history and perspectives and approaches that the writer might be in the best position to connect to something that just feels more organic to them, more interesting. And look, that can change too. Hopefully does, changes all the time. So it's not surgery yet. No one really knows how to do that. But it's just listening, paying attention, taking it seriously, and trying to provide tools for the writer to kind of do the work that they're most interested in doing.
Okay, next question. In terms of faculty supervision during the program, are students paired with a specific faculty supervisor at any point, or is it more general depending upon which classes the students are taking?
But I'll mess with. I would say that the pairings are more organic in nature, and that they kind of happen, as students find teachers and professors that they, share a kinship with, whether it's stylistically or some other kind of ethos. And there isn't necessarily an overarching pairing that the program does, but I think that just generally is the spirit of the program that we give people the freedom to be, who they want to be and they're going to be, so that they kind of can find the faculty that fit into that.
Oh, would anyone like to talk about their experiences teaching thesis workshop? Because that is the workshop in our curriculum that is focused on students collecting their work from the program and thinking about what they'll submit for graduation.
I have an amazing thesis workshop right now that I can't say enough incredible things about. So in your third semester, you will take thesis workshop, and so fall semester of your second year. And that is, at least for me, and we may do it differently, but for me, it's a time in which I'm really, really focused on the bigger projects that my students want to do. We're really talking a lot about sort of work that the students have already done in their first year and what they're trying to accomplish by the time they turn in their thesis. If I invite my students to turn in more work than I would in earlier workshops. So we're often workshopping big chunks of memoirs or big chunks of each other's nonfiction work. And it is an incredibly rich bonding experience because, in other workshops, you might be with first or second years, but this is a workshop in which everybody's on the exact same moment in their time here, and they're all working toward a very specific goal, which is the thesis. And I find that's a time where I'm doing a lot of extra mentorship and a lot of extra office hours and really trying to hold the sort of overarching projects of my students in my mind throughout the semester. So that is, I think, a time in which a lot of students really, they've been in the program for a year. And as Dottie was saying, they've had time to take seminars with a lot of people. And that might be the semester in which they really try to be with one of the professors they connect with the most and getting sort of more big picture mentorship. So that's my thesis experience.
Yeah, I think thesis is something that makes our programs very special. I don't know, the exact statistics, but I don't think that it's in every program. And I think in a lot of programs, you're kind of just told to write a book and that's it. There's not much else directive. But in poetry, we really work closely with you to help you think about what it means to construct a poetry book. And there's so many ways that could mean or could appear. And I think it's just a wonderful, special experience for the poets. The thesis class across all the genres are very small. So in a way, that pairing question. That's why Frank so brilliantly brought in the thesis, because in a way it is a kind of pairing. It's just a very small group that you're working closely with someone, with a professor. And I've always enjoyed the thesis class the most. And it's so exciting to see, the seeds that are planted in thesis become eventual books, and just to feel just that nostalgia and excitement to hear people's poems that you remember in class. And we just had our alumni poets reading last night, as someone mentioned, and I think 3 of the 4 poets were my thesis students. And just, hearing them now in new books, hearing those poems was really a wonderful experience.
It's similar in fiction. It's the final workshop you take at the end of your second year. It's a little bit smaller. And I think we're trying to think about this as, for lots of people, it's the last writing workshop you'll ever take, unless you go on some kind of gravy train of grad programs. But I think it's valuable to think about a lot of things. You've been surrounded for 2 years with this critical context, with people who've been obligated to read you seriously and to write extensive critical remarks. Is there a way to internalize some of that and learn some of that kind of critical behavior that you can direct on your own work? Because we think a lot about what it's like to suddenly leave a community of writers and be independent, which we're all kind of meant to do on for the rest of our lives. How do you sustain a practice without this kind of structure, so that you feel you can generate new work and figure out critically where your work is and where it might be? You can generally submit longer projects. You can think about what might be your first book. You could think about revising some work you did early on. It's fairly wide open. I think in general, in fiction, we'll meet with people at the beginning and figure out what would be an ambitious but workable project for them. What would be something that would make sense, that would really take advantage of this last semester where you have serious committed co-readers and a chance to do a lot of work. Sometimes people have novels they've been drafting the whole 2 years. They'd like that whole book read, and they'd like to get it reckoned with and get another revision done. So it's a workshop that's just a little bit concentrated, and in general, it's filled with people who are pretty determined to kind of get that last little bit of water out of the stone.
There's one logistical note that I'd like to add. If you finish your 2 years of study and aren't quite ready to hand in, there's an optional 3rd year that has no coursework. And in that optional 3rd year, there's an option to enroll with a one-on-one, we call it advisor at that point, in either the fall or the spring. It would be sequential. If you take it in the fall, you can take it in the spring. You can't skip the fall and take it in the spring. But you could get that advisor in both of those. So that's possible after thesis workshop if you're not quite there.
Are there any more general questions in the room before we break up into concentrations? Oh, okay. Do you mind making your way to the microphone? Thank you.
Hi, everyone. Frank, I remember you mentioning something about like a student group of like people who are interested in teaching. Is there any connection between the MFA program and the Teachers College?
Not
No.
a formal relationship, no. However, because they're part of the university, their courses are open for that 6 credit of elective course taking, as long as they're not blocked by prerequisite.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Is someone talking about CAT?
I mentioned CAT briefly.
Yeah, but they're still
Okay.
figure it out. Yeah.
Oh, I'm not sure if this was explicitly mentioned yet, but if you haven't yet looked at the list of faculty on our website, do that, because one distinguishing feature of our program, or one of the other ones, is that it's really much larger than most programs. And as somebody who did an MFA at a very small program, I'm very aware of the advantages of being in a large program, which means that every semester you have a large number of classes to choose from, a large number of people to choose to study with. And it also means that the cohorts of students are also bigger, which means that you have more chance to find the people you connect with from among this larger group. And I do feel that's a great value of this program.
And just to add, that size doesn't mean the classes themselves are larger. So the workshops stay small. It's just more faculty and more classes that are each small.
All right, why don't we do one more question and then we will split up. What sorts of resources are there in place to accommodate students with non-traditional learning styles?
I mean, the Office of Disability Services and, offers resources, right, that students can register with and take advantage of to make sure that then their professors are notified about the particular accommodations that the student might need. So every semester in the classes I teach, there's, often, a student, at least one, if not more, in classes that have registered disabilities that will require accommodations. And sometimes that looks like needing more time to fulfill an assignment. Students who are hearing impaired, that may involve having someone, sign in class. So I think professors are, all of us, I think, have quite a lot of exposure to and experience with a range of accommodations that students might need. We do emphasize the importance of registering, though, with the Office of Disability Services, because we can't provide those accommodations without having that resource right in place.
All right. Thank you all so much for being here in person, for being here on Zoom. After this, I think we're going to split up into concentration. So just follow the faculty member. Susan will probably work her way around between a couple of them. And then we're going to come back together for a student reading. So stick around, have some food, and thank you again.